And as I reflect back on the profound changes happening in our world today, I can't help but wonder, what are the chances these events are occurring right now, at this very moment in time, rather than any other period of time? Why are we living through this? What are you listening to right now? Why this specific time? It's hard to ignore the feeling that there's a deeper purpose behind all this. There must be a reason that you're here, tuning in today. You're alive right now for a reason. Why? Maybe it's because you've been given a unique talent, one that you haven't discovered yet. Or perhaps more likely, you've been entrusted with knowledge that can not only change your life, but also the lives of others. Share the knowledge you have. But here's the catch. The window of opportunity to act is closing, and it's up to you to seize it, to absorb what's been given and then pass it along. The world has experienced 6,000 years of monetary history, and we are now on the verge of a reset. And I'm not talking about a local reset or even a national reset. I'm talking about a global currency reset. The entire system is on the brink. We've reached the breaking point where the creating new currency faster and faster is no longer sustainable. Every new dollar created comes with interest attached to it, which makes paying off existing debt impossible. We've hit the threshold, and now we're seeing the consequences. Let's get one thing clear. Silver isn't just a shiny metal that retail investors stack during times of monetary stress. Silver is a strategic resource with vital industrial applications. Unlike gold, which is primarily stored in vaults, silver is actively consumed in industries like solar panels, semiconductors, electric vehicles, defense systems, and more. And this is where things get real interesting. China's central bank has been stacking gold for years, but now the baton is shifting to the insurance sector, which oversees $3 trillion, over $3 trillion in assets under management. If just a fraction of that capital is allocated to physical silver, the impact on supply and pricing will send ripples throughout the global markets. Silver is a relatively small market, smaller than many mid-cap U.S. stocks. It doesn't take much institutional capital to create major shifts. A single large buy from a Chinese insurer could soak up millions of ounces of silver. We wouldn't even know about it until after the transaction is completed. Moves like this aren't made on a whim. The People's Bank of China, PBOC, and its regulatory partner, the State Financial Supervision and Administration Bureau, are strategic in their actions. When China Life made its gold purchase official via the Shanghai Gold Exchange on March 25, 2025, it marked the beginning of a long-planned effort to funnel institutional capital into hard assets. The groundwork is already in place. And don't forget, silver is still classified as a monetary metal in China, and something the West might underestimate. When the Chinese institutions start hoarding physical silver, it could pose serious problems for American industries. Silver is a critical component in the photovoltaic cells. Each panel requires silver paste to conduct electricity. A price surge in silver triggered by Chinese institutional buying could lead to collapsing margins in the U.S. solar sector, or even halt projects altogether. Silver's high conductivity and reflectivity are essential for defense applications, including missile guidance systems and radar equipment. The Pentagon would face serious challenges if silver supplies were constrained. If Chinese institutions start hoarding silver, Washington will be forced to consider tough options: subsidize domestic mining, a process that could take years, compete in the open market, which could drive prices up, or tap into strategic reserves, which they've already limited and outdated. Each electric vehicle uses 25 to 50 grams of silver, more than double the amount used in internal combustion engines. With companies like Tesla, Ford, and GM scaling up production, the demand for silver in the EV sector is growing rapidly. Add in demand spike from Chinese insurers, and we could face real supply bottlenecks and production delays. If China's insurers start aggressively purchasing physical silver while Beijing restricts exports of mined and refined products, American EV production could come to a screeching halt. Let's move forward. Podesta enters. We've been reading Q. We know what's going to happen. Let's find out. We're going to start with the first of three different videos that are hooked together, and they all are going to be played at three different times during. I suggest you put these things together and cogitate on what's going on, because this is big stuff. Watch.
This is John Podesta. John Podesta was the chairman of the 2016 Hillary Clinton presidential campaign and has previously served as chief of staff to President Bill Clinton and counselor to President Barack Obama. John has had close ties to Washington for a very long time. John has been in the inner circle of some very, very powerful people within the upper echelons of the Democratic Party for a very, very long time. WikiLeaks has released thousands of John Podesta's emails, and after many researchers rifled through them, it was found that there were an enormous amount of strangely worded references to pizza and hot dogs. Needless to say, it is very clear to see that John and many of the people whom he was communicating with are speaking in code. And not only are they speaking in code, but it is the same code that has been well established by the FBI. A few emails worthy of mentioning are here. Here we have an email discussing that the White House is flying in $65,000 worth of hot dogs and pizza. And yes, you could argue that the White House spends a good deal on high-profile events, and thus it is silly to assume that this email has anything to do with child trafficking, but really, 65 grand to fly in hot dogs and pizza? Who flies in hot dogs and pizza? Does this hot dog and pizza catering service have a name? And 65 grand? At the very least, these people are wasting an insane amount of taxpayer money. Oh, and one last thing. It is protocol that all the food served at the White House is prepared at the White House due to worries of contamination and poisoning and the like. So all the food at the White House is made at the White House. So what does this email mean? This next one is addressed to John Podesta and discusses dreaming of a hot dog stand in Hawaii. Are hot dogs really that good in Hawaii? I've been there and I was never once told about the legendary Hawaiian kosher footlong. What is the name of this hot dog stand? Does this person and John Podesta vacation together? Very odd and very disconcerting knowing what the code word hot dog means.
Conclusive on December 15, 2024, Israel dropped a tactical nuclear bomb on Tartus, Syria. Radiation readings in and around Tartus, Syria, along with seismic readings, proved conclusively that Israel dropped a 0.3 kiloton tactical nuclear bomb on ammunition dump in Tartus, Syria on December 15, 2024. News media coverage of the huge event and explosion reported it was large. It registered on the seismograph as a magnitude 3.0 earthquake. It's those seismic readings that provide proof that the blast was nuclear and not simply an ammo dump detonating secondary to explosive attack. Well, how do we know that? Because there was no pre-earthquakes, as always with an earthquake that occurs. It just doesn't simply attack. What happens, an earthquake builds up and then it builds like a crescendo. So when you simply have an explosion like that, it's not a true earthquake. It was caused. In the graphic below, you can see the seismic readout of various types of explosions. The type right is explosion in Tartus, Syria, notice is a synchronous explosion, not a delayed asynchronous explosion, as seen in the bottom right seismograph in the ammo dump in Kemestka, Ukraine in 2023. The top seismograph in Tartus, Syria matches almost identically to the middle seismograph, which identified as an underground nuclear blast in North Korea.
Here, a third batch of documents pertaining to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has just been released. We've been combing through this. Nate Boy has been helping us do so. He's live from our New York City newsroom. What are we learning here, Nate?
Hey, Sandra. So 29 documents were just released in the past hour, over 400 pages. We're going through it as quickly as we can. And once again, names in the Clinton family have come up. So, of course, these names coming out as part of a 2015 defamation lawsuit between Virginia Giuffre, one of the accusers who claims that she was sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's confidant. Names that were searched, or at least discussed to be searched through Maxwell's phone as part of that defamation case include Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Prince Andrew, law.harvard.edu was one of the phrases to be searched through her phone, as well as Alan Dershowitz, the attorney. But the difference today, Hillary Clinton's name coming through, as we have seen former President Bill Clinton's name pop up each of the past 2 days. Another thing to note, Sandra, in one of the documents that was just released, there is essentially a message book that came out. It's handwritten notes for Jeffrey Epstein about who had called him. One of those notes reads, quote, "She had on the phone Mr. Harvey Weinstein." So we'll keep looking into that. as well as the rest, or as for the rest of the documents that we've had the chance to go through to this point. They explain through depositions a lot of the recruiting process for a lot of these young girls, some of them recruited by Virginia Giuffre's ex-boyfriend. Many of the girls described at Epstein's home under the age of 18, some of them from different countries. So right now, with these 29 documents being released, that makes 88 documents that have come out to this point. Giuffre's lawyers tell us that we can expect 240, and that process for those documents to be unsealed could stretch into Monday. But we'll keep going through this newest batch of documents, and we'll let you know what we find.
All right, Nate.
See that terrible fraud has happened. I'm like, why haven't we arrested someone already? But as the saying goes, the wheels of justice turn slowly but surely. And I think probably the person that stole 400,000 Social Security numbers, at least, maybe more, will be arrested hopefully this week. With respect to the non-governmental organizations, these sort of fake NGOs, I think there needs to be a number of arrests in that regard as well, because these are fake charities where mostly Democrats. Almost, well, I don't want to be clear. There's sometimes a little bit of Republican in there because they sometimes throw the Republicans a bone to say, "Hey, be quiet about this." So that's where you start getting the uniparty thing going on. But it is overwhelmingly to Democrats, and they give give billions of dollars to NGOs run by Democrats that then go through a whole network of additional NGOs. It's a giant money laundering scheme. Really, at this point, I think the word NGO and money laundering are almost synonymous.
The world is changing at an accelerated pace, folks. The old rules where the West controlled price discovery, capital flows, and commodity access are rapidly breaking down. China has already made its first institutional move into gold. Now silver is on the horizon. And when the floodgates open, the supply available to American manufacturers, investors, and even the U.S. government could vanish almost overnight.